In the annals of American history, few events resonate with the same intensity as Custer's last stand at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. This clash, which unfolded on June 25, 1876, was not merely a military engagement. It was a profound moment of cultural collision, where the valor of Native American warriors met the ambition of U.S. expansionism. Through the eyes of White Bull, a courageous Lakota warrior, we gain an unparalleled perspective on the chaos, bravery, and sheer terror that marked this legendary battle. As bullets flew and lives were lost, White Bull's account reveals not just the struggle for survival, but also the deep-rooted spirit of resistance that characterized indigenous peoples in their fight against overwhelming odds. Prepare to embark on a journey into a pivotal moment in history, where every detail recounts not just a battle lost, but a legacy forged in courage and sacrifice. White Bull and his wife, Holy Lodge, lived together in their camp within the Sans Arc Lakota tribe, which is why White Bull was there with her. His lodge was located on the north side of their camp circle, and the lodges next to his belonged to relatives. Holy Lodge's father was named Iron Whiteman, a respected figure among their people. One morning, White Bull woke up just before dawn and took his father-in-law's horses into the nearby breaks. There were 40 horses altogether, with 18 of them belonging to White Bull. Of those 18, 5 were running horses, 4 were mares, and 1 was a mule. The rest were geldings. He led them north along the river, about half a mile from camp. After watching the horses for a while and making sure they were safe, he returned home for breakfast. After enjoying a hearty meal with his family, White Bull went back to check on the horses again, bringing along his gun and 2 cartridge belts for protection, while trying to round up his horses that were on the west side of the river, about 125 yards from the water. White Bull suddenly heard a man shouting from upstream. Curious and concerned, he went up the river toward where the Hunkpapa Lakota were gathered. Sitting Bull was among them, and they seemed to be preparing for something important or possibly dangerous. Realizing the urgency of the situation, White Bull decided it was best to start moving his horses back home. He managed to catch one of his running horses, but then heard gunfire erupt nearby and saw women running and yelling in fear as they prepared to escape the danger. White Bull's father, Makes Room, was positioned on the north side of the Hunkpapa camp, while Sitting Bull was on the south side. When soldiers arrived at the river crossing, they were spotted by the Lakota warriors who were keeping watch. By the time they crossed over, most of the horses had already been captured by the soldiers. White Bull found himself back at the Hunkpapa camp, trying to assess what was happening around him. He was riding a strong bay horse and carried a Winchester rifle for protection. When he reached Sitting Bull's area, he saw that his 2 brothers were also present. Sitting Bull shouted urgently to everyone around him, "Get busy and do something." The first shots fired by the soldiers went through some teepees without injuring anyone. However, 3 Bears, a warrior, was shot down near where White Bull was standing. White Bull heard shouting from across the river and learned that a boy named Deeds had been killed about 3 miles away from their camp. Deeds' father was Brown Hat. After 3 Bears fell to gunfire, Dog with Horns also suffered a fatal injury in this chaotic situation. Many people were gathered together during this tense time as fear spread through the camp. White Bull wasn't entirely sure, but he thought that 3 Indian scouts had taken off with about 10 horses during the confusion. Chased by Owl was also killed in the conflict. White Bull himself faced great danger when he was shot by a scout. 3 Bears and Dog with Horns both lost their lives during this violent encounter. A Cheyenne warrior died next in the battle, followed by another warrior named White Eagle, who also lost his life during this encounter. The soldier who shot those 2 Indians was named Buffalo Cloud. The Lakota managed to capture one of the horses before going after him. However, as they did so, 2 Lakota warriors, White Eagle and Elk Stands on Hilltop, were killed and returned fire. They did not know who had killed the soldier who shot Elk Stands on Hilltop, but that soldier met his end soon after. Some of the white soldiers fired their weapons from horseback during the fight, briefly pushing back the Lakota. The soldiers set up a flag as a sign of strength. White Bull called out that any brave man could take that flag for himself. But no one dared to go for it despite his encouragement. A few minutes later, the soldiers came back and picked it up again without any resistance. The soldiers who engaged the Lakota in this skirmish were not part of Custer's group, but instead belonged to another unit. They dismounted and planted their flag while preparing for an attack from the Lakota warriors, who were ready to chase them down if needed. Some soldiers then took off, running away from the danger. There were about 3 soldiers who couldn't cross back over the river and ran along its west side while White Bull chased them until their leaders finally stopped their retreat. White Bull did not manage to kill anyone during the fight, but he really wanted to take down a soldier on a gray horse. Unfortunately, he couldn't hit him. After they stopped chasing the 3 soldiers, they rested for a bit. Custer, George Armstrong Custer, was approaching, so they took a moment to rest their horses before moving toward Custer's position, where they shot 2 of his men before the army could stop them. The women and children were about half a mile away from the action, and Custer stopped directly across from the camp. There were 4 companies involved in this battle, with Custer leading the second one from the north. After the soldiers were killed, those who looked at the map could see where Custer had fallen. The Native Americans positioned themselves between the troops and the women to protect them. White Bull was on the east end of the line and made a center run, but did not hit anything. The second time he charged forward, he vowed not to turn back. He aimed for the last company. As White Bull started his charge, the rest of the native warriors followed suit, and soon the last group ran into the second group, while the second moved toward the third. All the soldiers quickly mounted their horses. When the native warriors found themselves between 2 companies, White Bull pulled a white soldier off his horse. When the first group reached the second company, they didn't move in a straight line. Some ran toward the river and were all killed there. Before pulling that man off his horse, White Bull managed to kill another soldier. The fourth company tried to advance toward the third company in a draw, but didn't get any farther between the second and third companies. After he pulled that soldier off his horse, White Bull captured a gun and belt from a dead soldier. By then, he had counted 2 coups. The fourth company had lost their horses. They had white horses, which belonged to what was known as the Gray Horse Troop. As White Bull chased after the horses, another native warrior appeared in front of him and cut him off. At that moment, the third company had bay and white horses, but they soon lost them all. The bays and whites were in that third company, alongside those from the first and second companies. Before the third company released their horses, they ran southward. All except one were killed, but that lone horse was shot from under its rider. This might have been related to a man who fought from a hill nearby. Butler must have been with either the second or third company, but White Bull did not see him during the chaos. Down at Reno's position, 2 soldiers managed to escape. However, one was killed by native warriors while the other took his own life. According to Did Not Go Home, who had chased him down, the white soldiers from both the first and second companies were still on horseback when they reached the fourth company. They fled from the third company and were all killed down in a draw. The last soldier killed was close to the riverbank. This outcome made White Bull feel good as he picked up head feathers right along that area. White Bull planned to wear all of his feathers someday. It was customary for warriors to wear only 1 or 2 feathers at a time. Some societies would wear all of theirs during special gatherings. If they shot an enemy 1, 2, or 3 times during battle, they would wear a red feather as a mark of bravery. The first company was charged by White Bull and his band. The fourth company began to run toward the hill, but most of them didn't make it to the top. They lay down and started shooting. White Bull was on the east side, and Crazy Horse wanted to charge, but ultimately backed out. However, White Bull continued the run. They were close to the nearest horses while Crazy Horse was talking to his men. They were on level ground, and he was riding the same horse he had when Reno arrived. As White Bull rode through, the distance between him and the soldiers was as close as from here to that house. He leaned forward on his horse, gripping its mane with both hands. White Bull had heard that some warriors shot from underneath their horses' necks. He was riding bareback, but had a bridle on his horse. After passing through, he joined a group of native warriors on the other side. The third company started running down the hill. and White Bull ran over a soldier on horseback. The native warriors got as close as from here to White Bull's house. The boys kept encouraging each other, shouting, "Try!" After running over the soldier, White Bull's horse was shot down, leaving him on foot. Then he saw Bars coming toward him, leading one of the soldier's horses. A bay. Bars gave this horse to White Bull so he could start again and go after a soldier. Unfortunately, that soldier was shot before White Bull could reach him, but he managed to strike him. After hitting that soldier, White Bull noticed another soldier standing there, trying to protect himself. He jumped off the borrowed horse and approached him on foot. White Bull was about as far from that soldier as from here to the hall. The soldier fired his weapon at White Bull, who got closer until the soldier threw his gun at him. This prompted White Bull to start fighting back. He held a gun in his right hand and a whip in his left while the soldier tried to knock the gun out of his grasp. In the struggle, White Bull struck him in the neck. The soldier wore a coat. White Bull yelled for help, calling out to Crow Boy and Bear Lice to come over and assist him. During their rush to help, they accidentally hit White Bull too. The reason they called out to Crow Boy was that White Bull shouted twice, "Hey, hey, come help, help me." This happened just as the soldier was about to grab White Bull's gun. It was customary for warriors to call out when they struck an enemy, announcing, "White Bull strikes first," followed by second or third strikes. Some warriors believed that merely touching an enemy was enough to meet the requirements for earning a coup. After White Bull shot the soldier, he took the soldier's pistol and belt and moved toward the enemy. The remaining soldiers were in a draw, and White Bull and his group positioned themselves in front of them. As two soldiers approached, the warriors crouched down and waited for them to get closer. White Bull shot one soldier, while at the same moment, a Cheyenne warrior shot the other. They both claimed their first coup on the soldier they shot and a second coup on the other. White Bull then took the soldier's gun and climbed up the hill. When he reached the top, he realized he couldn't feel his leg. It had been hit but not broken, only swollen. He lay in a ditch until the battle ended and the Native Americans began to leave. Once horses were brought over, White Bull was placed on one. About 10 soldiers chased him up the hill, the last ones alive from that group. The fight lasted around an hour. With the sun still before noon, there were only a few cartridges left in the belts they had captured from the soldiers who wore caps. After returning to his father's lodge, White Bull found that their camp had not yet been fully set up. Sitting Bull was there with medicine, which he applied to White Bull's wound and wrapped with buffalo fur. The announcer declared that their camp would soon be established. Some women brought their teepees, while others had to return for them later. The medicine was made from roots, known as wounded medicine. White Bull said it was a great battle, and he enjoyed it despite the chaos during and after the fight. Many women were crying, so White Bull's father urged them not to cry, but to sing instead. There was a special song for the Sioux men who lost their lives in battle. His father remembered a song for a brave man named Elk Standing on Top. The people called him Elk Standing because of his bravery, but his spirit had now left them. Sometimes they called him Elk Standing on Top to honor his courage. Sitting Bull advised White Bull to be careful, warning him that he could be killed someday. Sitting Bull was across the river, fighting at that time, and White Bull didn't hear what Sitting Bull was doing during the battle. There was some disagreement among the Native Americans about whether Sitting Bull was with long hair, custer, or not, while White Bull's father stayed home, watching over the women and keeping them safe. Make Room was 50 years old at the time. Most of the men involved in this battle were younger warriors. Only half of them participated in the fight. Make Room never engaged in combat himself, and White Bull did not see Jumping Bull or any chiefs during this battle. After bandaging White Bull's leg, noon arrived, and after dinner, Sitting Bull applied more medicine to the wound, wanting to retrieve his saddle and leggings that he had discarded during the fight. White Bull returned to the battlefield, where most of the fighting had occurred. Bad Soup pointed at Custer's body and remarked that Custer thought he was the greatest man in the world. Yet here he lay dead. Bad Soup was Sitting Bull's brother-in-law. By then, all of Custer's clothing had been taken. Notably, Bad Soup did not have a mustache, which indicated that he wasn't Custer. White Bull retrieved his saddle and leggings. along with 2 pairs of soldiers' pants from the battlefield. He washed them in the river before bringing them back home to his father. Although White Bull did not witness anyone mutilating the dead soldiers, he suspected that some parents of fallen Native American warriors might have done so. A Cheyenne war chief who made a bold charge and was killed by soldiers right there on the battlefield. The Sioux thought he was an Indian scout and scalped him, but later they realized their mistake. All of them were brought to camp and placed in a large teepee that served as a temporary resting place for the fallen. Some of the fallen were buried in different locations nearby, and they did not take their dead with them to the White Mountains. However, 2 warriors died on the way and were buried where they passed away. After White Bull returned home with his saddle and leggings, he went to one of the bluffs and stayed there all night to rest and reflect on the battle. He came back after dinner and fell asleep from exhaustion. His father woke him up to tell him something significant was about to happen. So White Bull went over to a hill where some other men had gathered. They informed him that a scout had reported soldiers were coming their way. White Bull, along with Wounded Lice and another man, set out to scout ahead. They spotted a soldier who quickly ran away upon seeing them. They then found more soldiers on the west side of the river, about 9 miles north of where the fight had taken place. These were cavalry soldiers, and after that, White Bull did not see any more. They rested for a while, watching the soldiers without alarming anyone nearby. Then, they spotted some horses grazing peacefully in the distance. Leading the charge forward, White Bull and his group managed to capture about 30 horses in total. They traveled a short distance before encountering another group of Lakota who were moving quickly because soldiers were approaching. They were camped at the site where they had held their Sundance ceremony earlier. The Lakota asked how many soldiers there were in total, and White Bull replied that there weren't as many as they had just killed during the battle. The group returned to camp with the 30 horses, as the soldiers did not shoot at them since the horses were out of range from camp. After the 3 men returned to camp with the horses they had captured, they discovered that their camp had moved on without them. They divided up the horses just as sundown approached. White Bull tracked his camp down and found some food around an abandoned tent site before continuing until he located his camp around dark. He heard his father singing a song. White Bull, whenever there are many people watching you, you do something brave, and I really like you. The soldiers weren't marching. Their horses didn't have shoes on them at that time. Before reaching home safely, White Bull encountered some men who asked him for a horse. However, he told them to find one for themselves instead. White Bull achieved 7 coups during the battle, with each coup counted when a warrior made contact with an enemy or captured their horse. Here are the details of White Bull's coups. White Bull observed someone shoot a soldier, and as he reached the fallen soldier, he dismounted and counted coup, taking the soldier's pistol and cartridges. He encountered a soldier on a tired horse who was trying to get his rifle ready to shoot at him. Instead, White Bull counted coup by dragging him off his horse. In another instance, White Bull saw a soldier on foot pointing his gun in all directions. After someone shot that soldier, White Bull ran up and counted coup. There was another soldier on foot aiming his gun at the Lakota warriors. White Bull managed to ride him down and counted coup. For his 5th coup, White Bull faced a soldier on foot who aimed at him but did not fire. As White Bull got closer, the soldier threw his gun at him. They wrestled for a while, with White Bull eventually getting on top and hitting the soldier on the head. The soldier tried to take White Bull's gun from his left hand and nearly succeeded. In response, White Bull struck him in the face with his whip, causing the soldier to let go. The soldier then retaliated with punches, hitting White Bull on the jaw and shoulder before grabbing his hair and attempting to bite his nose. Throughout the struggle, White Bull yelled continuously to intimidate the soldier. After hitting him several times on the head, he pushed him over, took his gun and cartridge belt, and counted coup. The soldier remained silent during this encounter, which made White Bull fear he might not gain the upper hand, so he kept yelling persistently to scare him. For the 6th coup, a group of soldiers on foot came into a draw where White Bull and another Lakota warrior were positioned ahead. They dismounted and fought against the soldiers. As they approached, the warriors jumped into the draw to take guns from the soldiers. For the seventh coup, more soldiers arrived, prompting White Bull and the other warrior to roll out of the stream bed and escape while counting coup twice during the skirmish. I hope this first-hand account gives you a new perspective on the Battle of Little Bighorn and the Great Sioux War of 1876. Stay tuned for more stories of different battles. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.